Hi Arrows, I'm Kashawn and you are watching The Book Archer. So today's video is going to be a discussion video talking about Booktube and the obsession with new releases. We constantly are talking about new releases on this platform. One of my most popular videos this year so far has been my most anticipated releases for 2019, and as a community we always are trying to find out what's next. In doing so, those backlog books are not necessarily getting that attention. Why is it that new releases are so popular on Booktube? Is that a good thing, a bad thing, and where does it stem from? So let's jump right into it. When I was filming my underhyped books video, which I posted last week, I'll leave the link down to that below, I realized that a lot of the books that were mentioned that were either underhyped or didn't get a lot of attention, etc., are books that are not necessarily new releases. I don't think any of the books I mentioned came out within the last 2 years or so, except for one, and that was Dread Nation. All the other ones are books that had came out a few years ago and they've been out for a while. Once a book is not a new release anymore, we don't hear about it anymore in this community, which I find really odd because we are a community of readers. It's not like we're not here to just exclusively report on new releases, which I'll get a little bit more into that later on in the video, but it's our personalized reading experiences. But since reading has turned into such a community thing, when you bring it online, it turns into a cultural type of experience. And a lot of times what happens culturally, just like with new iPhones and new devices or new music, people are trying to keep up with what's the hottest and what's the latest, and they don't want to be left out. So if someone's pushing in your face, this is the new thing, this is the next thing, this is the, the next bestseller or what have you, naturally you're inclined to want to read it. Since reading used to be something that was solitary, that you kind of just did individually before there was online book communities, I think a lot of that has to do with the new releases, because now you know more about new releases and it's something that you can look forward to as a community. To whereas if you happen to be reading a book from 10 years ago, the likelihood of finding someone else who's also reading that book at the same time decreases. As humans, we naturally crave community. So I think that's one of the reasons why Booktube is so obsessed with new releases. However, to counteract that, before I joined Booktube, I did not keep up with new releases at all. I didn't know when new books were coming out. I had no idea that new books came out on Tuesdays. There were very few books that I was like counting down to release date, aside of course from Harry Potter, but I mean, it was Harry Potter. But other than Harry Potter, I wasn't completely obsessed with finding the new and latest thing. I would just go to the bookstore, browse. If something caught my eye, then I would read it. Now, even if there was a movie coming out that had a book to movie adaptation, that didn't make me feel like I needed to go out and grab that book immediately. But when you are online and you're on Booktube and you have 20 people telling you how amazing this one book is and it just came out, naturally you're inclined to pick it up. I also feel like the more Booktube grows, a lot of this is heavily influenced by publishers and sponsored videos, which of course I don't have a problem with booktubers working with publishers or videos being sponsored, which I talked about in my Booktube Real Talk tag. But at the end of the day, a lot of those people are in the business of making money. So when they contact booktubers, they're going to want them to promote new books that are going to be coming out. And if you're constantly seeing that, it's like a commercial. They want you to buy the product. So of course, if everyone's buying the product, then everyone's going to be talking about it. And how do they continue to make money is when a new book comes out. So this is the next book in this series, or we have the brand new epic fantasy series inspired by Game of Thrones, like whatever they have to really tell you to get you to read it. But there's always going to be something new, there's always going to be something next, there's always going to be a hottest author. So that's kind of like how you keep the money going. That's just something that you're bound to encounter on YouTube. This is a place where companies go to advertise and where consumerism is a huge thing. So just by Booktube existing, our entire consumption of reading has virtually changed. I mean, when you truly think about it, we really don't have to keep up with the new releases. It's not like there is a shortage of books and literature. Of course, I love new releases, I love debut authors, and I love fresh perspectives, but there are thousands and hundreds of books, so I'm really not sure that I need to be keeping up with them every month. I think it's good to have like a yearly list, but I don't know if I have to know the new books coming out every single month. Now, on one hand, I want to read works that are current to today's climate, things that are relatable to the here and the now, because there are topics and issues that weren't discussed in certain literature back then that you can now find in literature. We want to see more literature that is diversified, broader stories being told in multiple genres. So a lot of those books really and truly do not exist. So you have to watch for new releases because the publishing world is still catching up in certain areas in certain respects. At the same time, I also don't want us to be so obsessed with making reading this shared experience and just keeping up that we kind of lose the essence of most amazing part about being a reader is you can literally pick up a piece of literature from any point in time in history. I really wonder what are going to be our new classics. What are going to be books that are seen as classics in the future, because we're still reading literature that's over 100, 200, 300 years old, and I just wonder, do we ever have our Shakespeare's, our Pride and Prejudices, etc. if we were a community of readers that didn't want to read anything because it was old? I just wonder what the long-term effects of our obsession with reading new releases is. And I also wonder, is this just something that I'm experiencing? Do you find it harder to discuss certain books with people if the book isn't new, if it didn't just come out? Do you find yourself reaching more for new releases? Or do you think it even matters? Like, just read the new releases, support debut authors, support new authors. What are your ideas on this? Because I don't think that I'm necessarily for it or against it. I just do think it's a conversation worthy of being had. Leave your thoughts and your comments in the description box below. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at theBookArcher, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!